welcome to the Talking Wednesday Awards for the 23-24 season. We would call them the annual awards. We planned it back on episode 19, Jake, when we first did these awards, is when we were going to be looking at making them every year. This is only the second award show, but we will be bringing it back every single year. We have an addition. It's all the crew today. It's Dex, Punk, and Worko, who are going to be giving out the Talking Wednesday Awards. They are meant to be a little bit of fun. We've removed some of the negative awards we had last time. We've grown as people, I would say. And also it's interesting because we've gone from a relegation season to that. This is not a normal podcast. It's an award show. For the first time ever, this will be premiering, speaking the words live on our normal podcast recording schedule. So you guys, there should be some people in chat watching this. Will also be live tweeting during this, the Talking Wednesday Awards, just to have a little bit of fun and make it actually like a little bit of an award show, even though it's three idiots giving out some awards for what they've witnessed over the course of the season. I want to start today, guys, with looking at last time. Now, did any of you go back and watch the episode?
I ain't had a chance this weekend.
No, I hoped you hadn't, because I wanted to see if we could remember all the time ago, back on episode 19. So, Jack, you were just a twinkle in the Talking Wednesday eye.
I knew you were going to make that joke. I knew you would make that joke.
You weren't even involved. And me and Jake from a spare bedroom with a sofa in the back. I was looking at it and I was like, oh my God.
Long time ago.
Yes. Even your children were interrupting that because I had to put a cut in the awards because something happened.
No, I remember it. McKenna came running in.
I want to go through
was it
the
that
awards
episode?
from last time and see if you can remember. No, not that one. There's been a few.
Not that
one. So, we tend to do player of the season, moment of the season, signing of the season, picture of the season, most improved player, one to watch, and worst moment. They're the ones we tend to do. We didn't do worst moment this time, but I think we're going to put it in actually as an off-the-cuff award because I think we'll all very much have a similar answer to that, so I didn't really need to think about that one too much. But we'll go from, do any of you remember back in this is the thing, this was a championship relegation season back then, who was what was the worst moment that won the award that year? Do you remember?
Was it the actual relegation derby game?
So that was a big talk about it. It wasn't actually that. No. Any thoughts, Jack?
No, I can't. No, I can't remember.
It was Tony Pulis. Anything Tony Pulis. Yeah. Because anything involving him was the worst moment of that season. So that's what won the award for that. The one to watch. Interesting, you think back then?
Was it someone like
Asazi Iragidi?
So Iragidi won the award, and that was my shout, but it wasn't Jake's initial suggestion. There was also Deli Basharu in there from the community, but with the votes, because obviously we've got 3 hosts now, so we've not done a community vote this time. You said Declan Thompson.
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
Oh, God.
But yes, we went. I said at the time Iragidi because it was pretty clear that even if he wasn't going to be a player for us, there was going to be some sort of career there. But it just shows how things don't pan out if you don't stick to the course, you know. And he showed a lot of promise that season. Most improved player that season. Jack, go on, have a guess. You wanted Palmer. That was your vote. Mine was another player.
I'm just trying to remember the squad.
One with the community vote.
Jordan Rhodes? Because he suddenly turned it on at the very end of the season?
No, it was Pelopessi.
Oh!
He just won.
Yeah, he's just won promotion to the Eredivisie with...
yeah, he has. But it's interesting, given the way the awards might go today, that Palmer was in for most improved player all that time ago at 29 years old he was at the time. The pictures, I won't talk about the pictures because it's probably hard to remember the pictures there. I quite like the look on Hutchinson's face when he'd re-sign. Remember we had that whole saga of him re-signing back then?
Oh, yeah.
And it was him sort of like, what is happening here in that signing picture? But Jake pitched Barry Bannon and Westwood distraught because it actually showed a couple of players who cared about the club, which was a very sad way for us to give that award. But on the relegation day, that was the picture. Signing of the season that season. This shows just how long we've been doing this podcast now.
Well, the only one I can think of is either Windass or Pato.
They were the two that were in contention, yep. And we went Windass. So Windass got signing in the season. We were talking about, we'd understand if we needed to cash in him in the summer, even though we really hope he stays. And now he's at the stage where his contract is coming to that time. Moment of the season. Any guesses? It was basically across the board. This one moment was all the fans and you and me both agreed on it. Because there wasn't many.
What the hell happened in that season? Because there wasn't much.
Was it? In my head, it's either the massive win against Cardiff City or it was Darren Moore getting appointed.
It was Cardiff City. Well done, Jack.
Well
it
done,
was.
Jack.
It was because it was. I actually said I wanted a specific moment in that. I wanted the big P volley because he got a volley in that, and we decided to categorise it just as the Cardiff game overall because it was a highlight in a crap season. And player of the season that season, who do you think won it?
Palmer.
Yeah, I think it was Liam Palmer too.
It was not. Jake said Pelopessi.
Right.
Oh.
I said Bannon. And with the votes, Bannon won it. Palmer wasn't even in that season. No, if you remember, Palmer was still very controversial back then in terms of the fan base. But let's get into our 2023-24 season awards. And we're going to start this with an award that I've not put to anybody. Just so you are aware, guys, 3 results are already locked in because there was something because I asked all of the Talking Wednesday hosts to blind vote and send them me rather than the way we did it last time with the community vote. And we have agreed on 3 of the awards. Because there's 3 of us, there's obviously a deciding vote there. So 3 of the awards are locked in. The others are going to be a debate and we're going to decide together who wins the award today. The one I want to start with is one I've not pitched to you. So it's going to be the worst moment of the season. Jake, we'll go with you first. What was your worst moment of the season be this season? We'll start negative and we'll get positive.
It's got to be that 4-0 at Huddersfield for me because we absolutely bothed that game and we looked like we were going to get something from it and then we just fell apart. And it was uncharacteristically how we fell apart for me. And it was one of those ones where you could see where Danny really finally realised he had a job on his hand if that was the mentality of the players, if that's how they think, because it was the quick break of all the goals. It's got to be that for me.
Fair enough. Yeah,
it's got to be the worldie of a goalkeeper that we had, Devis Vasquez, going back to his home club after having his loan term. No, I'm kidding. It was actually the Sunderland home game where we lost 3-0 because it was just so like, or was it 3-0? I think it was 3-0. It was where Pritchard scored pretty much a worldie from the edge of the box.
We didn't have a great time.
But yeah, that Sunderland home fixture was just. Like it was just the moment that everybody knew Cisco had been here far too long, but it felt like it just felt like we were dead and buried. That for me, that was the fixture, and I was like, even though it was in October time, it was just like we're just dead and buried here. That was in my head the 10% when I've talked previously about the 10% that was like, yeah, we're done. But then the 90% of we can survive this once Danny Rule came in. That was the time that it set like, oh God, like how the hell are we getting out of this now? Like, even though it's so early on in the season.
This is interesting because the reason I didn't pitch this to you guys is I thought we'd all say what I'm about to say. And it's because of the repercussions that happen from it. And it is a point in Xisco Munoz. That is the worst moment of the season for me. Just quite like Tony Pulis was in the season previously. The appointment of Xisco Munoz just showed everything what was wrong with the club at the time for me. And it was something that we really had to fight to claw back from.
I think for me, though, with that one, it's a little bit more of managers, you don't know what happened when they come in. Like with Pulis,
I tell you what, if we're not going to go with that, I like to say another game, because I remember when we were recording our special episode and it was under Danny Rull and we were losing to Ipswich in such a manner, and it just felt like we were down. I remember us trying to be positive and just feeling absolutely low. So if we're going for an actual fixture as the worst moment of the season this season, that would be mine, where we were all sat together and it was just like, there's no way, is it? It's like, it was that week in, week out. And I think they're all contenders. The Sunderland game, the Huddersfield game was a low. Jack, if you were to pick from what you've said, would you stand by yours? Would you potentially go for the Ipswich one, or would you potentially go for the Huddersfield one? And I'm gonna bring it to Jake in a second.
I would actually possibly argue the Huddersfield fixture, because that was under Danny Rull, and it was sort of felt like, even though we've got a new idea, our fate of going down still might not even be changed, and it'll be a rebuild next year. So actually, it was that, because at that point there was loads of hope that we would stay up and all this sort of thing, and there was a buzz of like, oh my god, maybe we can do it. Oh my god. And then it was like a big sucker punch that it's like everything that we're getting excited for is for nothing, and that fear of that creeping in. So I would say the Huddersfield thrashing that we received, actually. Yeah.
I'm glad you've said that, actually, because that's what I was going to pivot to. I think the Huddersfield 4-0 was a sign where it felt like we were down, because it was a 6-pointer, and to lose in that manner, it felt inexcusable at the time. So for them to be the relegated side is irrelevant when we're talking about this award.
This is rather fun, isn't it?
It's nice to look back at. Yes, the worst moment of the season, the Talking Wednesday award goes to Huddersfield 4, Sheffield Wednesday 0. So a visual on this one, so apologies for the audio listeners. We are going picture of the season. Jack, would you like to talk us through your picture of the season? And Jake, if you could just put yours in the document so I could see yours again, if that's okay.
Yeah, so my picture of the season is the picture that was used to announce Danny Rull as the appointment of our new manager, where he's leaning, much like Sam Hutchinson was, actually, just to call back to an earlier moment in this award show, but when he was leaning on the Welcome to Hillsborough sign, and it just symbolises the start of this whole like new chapter that we're clearly on, and effectively a turn in Wednesday's fortunes, even more so a turn in Wednesday's fortunes for the long run, hopefully. Because there's been a lot of speculation that he might leave. We all know that that's absolute bogus, but absolutely bogus. But yeah, that's just the picture. That's when the season started for me, really. And I just think it's totally united the fans again, when there was lots of infighting going on and lots of conflict within from the fan base up to the chairman and vice versa. We remember Statement FC, and it's just like the whole symbol of the start of everyone hoping again, I think, after a very dismal summer and everyone feeling very down and very like hopeless about what the future holds for Wednesday, and that totally changed with that image. So that's why that's the contender for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I understand why you go with that. For me, I've just put it in the document. So if you open up the awards document, it's a very recent one, and it's Danny Rull holding up Barry Bannon after we've stayed up. And it's basically just showing the time that Bannon's had with us, how much it means to him, and how much there's the support from the manager. And it's almost as if like we've had this manager come in, do this miracle, and it's the most seasoned player for us there, meaning so much to him. That embrace sort of thing in that image just shows it could be, if everything went fairy tale, it could be the start of Sheffield Wednesday becoming serious again. So for me, it's that one. Jake?
Mine is at the end of the Sunderland game. It's similar to that, but it's more the players sitting down and soaking up the atmosphere from the fans and showing their appreciation to what they've just done and showing the fan the appreciation. We know that it's a cliche that players love their away fans and stuff, But when these away fans, there's just something a little bit special there when they do it. Like you look at what happened at Blackburn Rovers, that kind of thing. But the players actually just sitting there and soaking all that in and realizing what they've just done, having a moment of just pure silence in themselves, looking up to the rafters of all these fans, like chanting their name, going, "We're staying up," doing all that, and just seeing that they actually care. There's actually, unlike the time we went down in 2019, it didn't look like many cared. Everybody in the team cared. Everyone could give you that little bit of glimmer that they really did when they were saying, "We believe we're going to stay up." You believed them. And it was just that last minute of like reflection of going, "We've done it for you and thank you for being there."
Absolutely. Right. Well, I'm going to do this a little bit differently then. Jack, if you had to pick out of mine and Jake's picture, which one would you go for? I know they're both quite similar.
I would go with yours, just purely because it symbolizes the old embracing the new. It's sort of like a unity of Bannon representing what has come before and the build up till now, and then Danny, who is the sort of the new going forwards, and Bannon's totally leaping. You know what I mean? Like that image of unity, I guess, between the old Wednesday and the new what's coming soon sort of Wednesday. Yeah.
Jake, if you were to go between mine and Jack's, so what would you go?
I go with Jack's because it shows you the future of where we're going, and it shows you if we actually get things right, like we're looking like we're doing, we can actually go forward. And it was nice to see us not go with the old tested, old guard, get someone who knows the championship. We actually did something quite bold, quite unlike Chancery, and actually took a big risk, even though Muniz was technically risk. We took an even bigger risk with Danny with the situation we were in. And I think it embraced how moving forward we look, in theory, air quotes, in the right track as it's going, and it gave you that kind of belief of not going for someone trusted, breaking the mold a little bit.
This has made things harder because if I was to pick between those two, I'd have gone for Jake's if I was to go between Jack's and Jake's. So it all depends on how much we want to back our own then, because we've each kind of got 2 votes for all of our photos. So it's more of a case of when we come to the consensus. Like for me, and this you don't have to agree with me, which is fine, I back my photo more out of than the other 3. So it more comes with a case of is everybody in the consensus? Jake, do you think your photo is more pivotal than the other 2? Which is fine if you say yes, by the way.
I don't, because mine is a bit more just the general reflection of it going. I actually do. I think yours is quite good with the embrace because it shows club captain and manager of one instead of it like against each other, like sometimes it can be.
Jack, do you think yours is more pivotal than the other 2?
No, I'm sticking by what I said just now. There's a lot of symbolism of the old embracing the new with such ferocity and passion like that, and so I think
So that's why I would back mine, because of what it meant when I looked at that. So would we be comfortable going with that as the image of the season, even though I think they're 3 great shouts?
Lock it in.
Yeah, fantastic. So the picture of the season is Danny Rull embracing Barry Bannon as Sheffield Wednesday perform The Great Escape. Right, we're going to carry on with the moment sort of thing. And the next award is Best Moment of the Season. I'm going to... Actually, no, I'll start with myself here. I don't usually start with myself as the host, but we'll go for it. And mine's a little bit of a sidebar, really. It's probably one you wouldn't think of because it's not like the biggest moment of the season, but for me, it's potentially the best because it proved a turning point. And it was Hendrick's equaliser against Leicester. Because when that goal went in, we started having more of a we fight till the end attitude. And that gave me some symbolism that Sheffield Wednesday could go on and do something here, even though it was still going to be difficult. A player that hadn't done really anything for us and didn't do anything since then for us, scoring in that fixture, getting us the point, just showed that we had more of we had more metal to us than we'd had previously. So for me, that was my best moment of the season because it brought the turning point. And obviously there was bumps along the road for that, but that was quite pivotal for me. Jake, we'll go to you next for your moment of the season.
I'd say mine's really cliche. It is the Sunderland game because it just brought everything to a good climax where everything the players have worked for, everything Danny'd done, and he backed up what he said he was going to do. He said we were going to take all the points. And there was a couple of games ago we were like, yeah, we're not going to do that. These are difficult games. No, he backed those claims and he took them. And it showed the mental and the metal of this team that they can go, if we're going to do something, we're going to do it. We're going to prove people wrong. What's the one thing Barry Bannon said all through the season? Don't write us off. The worst thing you can do is write us off. We are not the team to write off. You look at what we did in the semi-finals. We don't give up. We're not that kind of squad. We are mentally, we're stronger than everyone actually thinks, which actually I think gives us a little bit of an advantage when people see us.
Yeah. Jack, your best moment of the season?
Originally, I submitted 2, and I was like, "Oh, you two can vote on it and all this sort of thing." But actually, I've just changed my mind, and it's pure and simply that the volley from Josh Windass in the Blackburn game, and the resulting celebration that he did after the fact, with doing the chatter symbols with his hands and everything, because it almost sort of said. It's almost sort of said the same sort of message that Jake's said with his pitch for his best moment as well, where like everyone was talking about how Wednesday was going to bottle the staying up and that Wednesday were down and all this sort of thing, and he was just saying, yeah, it's all talk and ignore the chatter and effectively it also ties into why his little documentary of 20 minutes that he uploaded saying now you're going to believe us, it kind of symbolizes that as well. Like, yes, nobody believed that we'd do it. Nobody believed any of the claims outside of Wednesday that the players were making, that Danny was making, that a lot of the fans were making, that yes, we will stay up. Nobody believed it, and yet here we are actually backing up our own words. It wasn't all just lip service, and I just think it's a bit of like that was the best moment for me, because it's like, yeah, we're actually proving ourselves right, like pipe down. I will
actually
sort of thing.
go with that. Yeah, because obviously we can then decide between those, but I would actually support that, because I think the West Brom game was so big, and to score a goal of that magnitude and have the confidence, we talk about big game players, Josh Windass showed it there. So we will give the Talking Wednesday award for the best moment of the season to Josh Windass for his volley against West Brom.
And just quickly as well, the one that I was also going to submit was it's an honourable mention, but it's the missed kick by Ainsley Piers that was an own goal that everyone went feral over, because it was just absolutely hilarious. But that was my other possible nomination that I was going to get you two to vote on. But there we go.
No, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have got it, I don't think.
Honourable mention.
I'm surprised they haven't got goal of the season.
Yeah.
So, we're going to go for now our signing of the season. Now, the interesting one, this is the first one of our results that's already done. 2 of us went for the same player. 1 of us went for another player. So that's happened a couple of times during our blind voting in this. So in this case, Jack, you'll be pleased to hear that yours and my suggestion of Icky Ugbo has won signing of the season. But before we get into that, Jake, you had an honourable mention. Who was your shout?
Masaba, because he came in a position when he originally came in, he didn't do that well. He was quite a bit hit and miss, because when he came in, I think everyone saw him as being like, he's going to be on the bench a little bit more because he wasn't up to speed, he wasn't ready. But you know what? He's shown the ability, especially away from home. He's very good away from home, that he knows where the back of the net is, and he's helped make so many of the goals. And I think without Masaba, you don't have Ugbo as your player of the season. because their link up that they got already.
That's very fair.
Is already there. So without him, you probably don't have some of the goal, because there was a lot of assists between the pair of them. He got a good eye for goal. He can hit it cleanly. And I think if we look at how we actually did in the summer, and I think you've got to put honorable mention a little bit for Gassama as well, because for 19, 18-year-olds, he's really done well. But Masaba was mine.
No, and I completely see that. Jack, why were you strong on Ike Ugbo getting the award?
It's because the biggest problem that we had, well, apart from defending, was that
That's exactly where I'm going, by the way.
Our biggest problem was actually scoring the goals. We were setting up chances and we couldn't hit a barn door, and then in comes Ike Ugbo, and suddenly we were converting so many more chances. It wasn't, and that's actually the reason why I didn't vote for Masaba, because he was effectively scoring goals and making his own chances, if you will, out of nowhere. A lot of the time when he was scoring, it was against the run of play, and Ike Ugbo was actually finishing chances created by the team, and that was the biggest, I think, one of the biggest linchpins in why we've ended up stopping up, because we've ended up actually converting goals, and without goals, you don't get points, you know. Unless it's a 0-0 draw, obviously. But besides the point, it
For
was
a
just
long time, we've always said, why can't we just have someone with that finish? Because Sheffield Wednesday's problem has been wasting chances. Now, Ike Ugbo has to be signing of the season for me, and it's good that he's won it in my eyes, because he became that player that was finishing the chances. He scored the goals that have kept us up.
Arguably, it could be the first time we've had a striker like this since Gary Hooper. I genuinely think Ike Ugbo
we'll see.
could have been, well, hopefully we sign him again, but that's a whole other topic. But I've not seen a player play like this since Gary Hooper.
The Talking Wednesday award goes to Ike Ugbo. So we have another one that is actually being won by blind vote. So we have a winner here, and it's the most improved player. Mine and Jake's suggestion was the winner. But before we tell you who that was, Jack, who was your suggestion for most improved player?
My suggestion was Bambo Diaby, because under Cisco, he just looked absolutely clueless. And honestly, I was nervous every time he got the ball, because I had no idea if he was going to give it away or play a world either pass or hold the ball up or anything. It was like nerve-wracking. It was prime levels, and this is a controversial take slightly, but I've never been this nervous about a player getting on the ball since Reader Johnson. And honestly, I was bricking myself, thinking, "Oh no, are we gonna give him? Is he gonna give him a chance away? Oh, is he gonna get sent off? Is he gonna get booked? Is he gonna get all of this stuff?" And I had so much anxiety over it. And then Danny comes in, works with him, and he becomes one of our most solid defenders. I feel that was actually Mr. Reliable come the end of the season in that sort of position. So that's why I've said him.
Jake was struggling to decide between the player we've gone for and Bambo. I was struggling to decide. But given the fact that I didn't see something in this player that Jake saw in him immediately, and it actually turned out to be the most improved player over the season, the award for the most improved player has gone to Paul Valentin for his progression over the season. Now, Jake, talk us through your reasoning for giving this award.
You saw at the start of the season, he really struggled. He came in that he actually came out recently and said he wasn't fit. That's it. You saw glimpses of what he could do versus Middlesbrough on his debut, and there were little bits of the defending that you thought needs a bit of work. But then he got to the game side of the way I think he's really good, which is his explosive speed. He can flip defenders quite quickly. We can get somebody up there with him next season. He's going to change games a little bit with that run, because he can get back and defend as well. He does have the slight issue with his defending where he can sometimes be a bit off the ball. And remember that grab versus Swansea he did, which was a bit stupid. But he just kicked on. And I think the other thing for me with it as well, he's someone that come to the UK and done something that most foreign players do. He's gone and learned English, and his level of English is really good. He's not needing the translator, which is Bambo of much. But he really just kicked on. And I can see him having a couple of assists and maybe a goal or two next season if he keeps playing how he has this year.
Yeah, no, it's one of those players that has done. It's when you get a manager in and he was signed specifically for a manager, but ends up playing better under a better manager.
That manager's replacement,
isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's for me.
It was hard though.
It wasn't an easy decision, this one, between that and Bambo is a worthy shout, but the award for most improved player goes to Paul Valentin. Now we've got another contested award coming up, guys. So this is the last one of our contested awards where we all kind of went for a different player, and that is the one to watch. Jake, start us with your suggestion for one to watch.
I've gone for Sam Reed, who's in our
Let's
academy.
see if it's another Declan Thompson for him, shall we?
Yeah. So far, what I've seen from bits of the academy, he's very solid. He's a very good player. He knows how to defend well. He's very solid when he's in a back four, back three. He commands really well. I think he's only 19. And we got him at the start of the season from Bridgewater or Bridgend, someone like that. Bridgetown, I think it's one of them. I can remember
one of them
saying that we're going to get him in soon because he looked really good. And at one point, it looked like he was going to have a first team spell, but he got a knock and he didn't get into the first team situation. If we look after our youth players like we have done, say, a Bailey Cadamarchi, say what we're starting to do with a Joey
Who, interestingly, by the way, spoiler, none of us went for one to watch, which is interesting, actually. But carry on.
God, no. Jesus Christ, yeah. But it's, what does it, if we can nurture them properly, like it looks like we're doing, we could have a really good setup of youth team. I hope this one goes right this time, but at the same time, that's the issue you have if you pick an academy player for the one to watch.
Yeah, and you love to pick an academy player for this pick,
I do.
So you've done it. Yeah, I actually thought about Cadamarchi afterwards. I was like, but no, I'm going to stick by my original.
I almost feel like Cadamarchi feels like too much of an obvious answer for it. Do you know what I mean?
It really is. So who did you go for then, Jack?
Interestingly enough, I went with somebody who might not actually be our player next season. I went with Ian Poveda because, not Ian, Jan. I went with Jan Poveda because effectively the debate on everybody's lips is, will he be fit enough? Should he sign? The debate is also, will he sign? The debate is also, is he going to replicate his form for us if he does sign? And given that we will literally be watching social media, Sky, news outlets, all sorts of things, and the fact that this player will probably be Jake's next big transfer saga, a bit like the Malik Wilkes situation was, if you remember that.
Can we not? I think Malik Wilkes hasn't worked.
I think that for many reasons that Jan Poveda is going to end up being the one to watch for Wednesday, because I think a lot of people are sort of writing him off early in, he's always had injury troubles and this, that, and the other. And I just think there's going to be lots of debates around him. And that's why I think he's going to be the my nomination for one to watch.
That's fair. Obviously, there's no restrictions on here. I think the restriction we would probably put actually is around 23, 24 years old. So they all fit with this.
Yeah.
For me, I thought it was an obvious shout, but obviously this just shows how much potential we've got in the squad. For me, it's got to be Deji Gassama. So he's 20 years old. He's technically very, very good. He's one of those players that I'm like, if he keeps his head down, this player could have a career. It's signs of so much potential. Nowhere near the finished article, but development under a good manager, he could be one of those players that is just the one you watch all the time for me. So for me, he has to be one to watch. Just looking at the way he moves past players, he thinks about the game. You can see him developing. You can see him becoming more thoughtful about his attacking movement and his decision-making as well. You know, if we talk about Masaba earlier, for sometimes I feel like Masaba tries to snatch the shot a bit too much, but But Gassama seems to move into that space and know when to take the shot and not always go for it and play it a little bit. For me, he's the most technical player we've got at the club, and I know that's obviously quite a big shout. But in a Wednesday shirt, the one to watch for me will be Gassama.
And
so
can
we
I
have
just
got
say
a split
something
on our hands again
on this one. It's weird us talking about players in the Wednesday squad with this technical ability and excitement when they play. It doesn't feel very Sheffield Wednesday, and it's freaking me out.
No, it definitely doesn't.
Yeah. It's an interesting one though on the Gassama thing, because he can't do a Lucas Xiao and let all the hype for his potential go to his head, because that's what Lucas Xiao did, and he didn't really do very well after that point. So he needs to, despite whatever people may say about him, to fully realize that potential, he needs to keep humble, keep his head down, and keep working hard to always improve. He can't just sort of think, oh, I'm getting all this praise now from the media, from fans, from this, that, and the other. I don't need to work as hard anymore. And that's what Lucas Xiao did. And that's why he didn't particularly fulfill this massive potential that he was being talked about having at the start of his time with Wednesday. And so,
do you think Masaba had that to a little part of the
season? I think so, yes.
He dropped off a little bit.
I think so, yes. I think he started to let the hype get to his head a little bit. And I just wonder, there was a point where he actually then started to claw back his form again. And I just wonder if someone had a word in his ear about, you're letting this get to your head a little bit. Keep your head on. You're only a young lad. And that sort of thing. And I think, yeah, so that's my worry with Masaba as well. And that's why I didn't put him.
Gassama for me is the player that could go either way. And that's why he's the one to watch, because he could be brilliant, but he also could fall off like so many other players, which is why he fits that for me. Jake, you've heard our argument for all three players. If you had to pick one out of the three, who would you go for now after the arguments?
I'm picking Gassama. It excites me a lot more. Just because pervaded the unknown. We don't know if he's going to be here next season. There's too many variables.
And you're going over your academy product.
I am going over my academy product because there's how they do in the academy, and then if they get up to the first team and how they do. And that's the only problem. If I pick an academy product, it's difficult because you never know if they're going to actually come good at us. How many times have we had an academy product and then go and do amazing elsewhere? And we're like, well, we should have kept him. Hindsight is what it is.
Maybe next year we'll add a category for the academy. Maybe make it a bit more specific in that regard.
But I think Gassama shows a lot of promise, and if he keeps his head down and keeps doing what he does, the thing that excites me about the whole situation, I want to see what Wednesday's like under Danny Rule preseason.
Absolutely. Jack, if you had to pick out the three.
Definitely. I agree with Jake on the fact that Pervader's just the unknown. He's like the wild card factor because he might not even end up signing for us. But I also never really go with our academy players whenever that's kind of suggested, only because every time I always think that about an academy player, they always get poached or sod off to some other team and do excellently and rise through their ranks instead of ours. So I'm going to go with Gassama as well. So it's like a trauma response. Yeah. Literally. I never get excited about our academy players until they actually make debuts and start playing on and off in the first team.
At least Gassama, if he gets poached, it's going to cost them some money.
Exactly.
So our one to watch Talking Wednesday award goes to Gassama. The big award, guys. And it's not, we've had no awards that have been unanimous, by the way, blind. Obviously, we've come to unanimous decisions. This one has again won 2 out of the 3 votes between the hosts on the blind vote. So we have our player of the season, but I will go to the person that had the suggestion, who will be our honorable mention, who got second in our player of the season race. And actually, it was quite a popular choice. So, Jake, I wouldn't say you were too far gone with your suggestion. It just didn't win our award. Talk us through who you went for.
I went for Volks. Volks have been outstanding this season. And I believe we have been outstanding because he's been able to sit down and get things done that you wouldn't think he would get things done. Like, at times of this season, he's like, he looks too slow for this midfield. He doesn't look like he can keep up. But he's actually, if you put him in a position, you say, your job is to just block and then get the ball forward. He can do that, and he can do that all day long for me. So for me, it felt because he's that warrior that we need in midfield. If we're going to go forward, we need a younger version of that. But Volks have been fantastic this season.
And it's hard to disagree with. The only reason I've got, I'll go to you last, Jack, on this. But the reason I have gone for Liam Palmer, who was won our player of the season, is because he's fought back every single time a manager has doubted him. He's fought his way back in, showed excellent form. When he's not been at his best, it's usually because the whole squad has been clueless. That's usually when you see people slating him at the minute. He's scored crucial games from a position you wouldn't. That's what's come into his game this season. He's scored in crucial games, crucial goals at crucial times. He's stepped up. He has been the identity that Sheffield Wednesday want. And for me, he's embodied what a player of the season is. His performances have been resilient. They've built their way back up, and he has shown what it means to represent Sheffield Wednesday, and he's got the right head on his shoulders, and he's represented us in the best light. So for me, it's got to be Liam Palmer. What would you add to that, Jack?
I would also say that, like you've kind of said, every single time a new manager has come in, and this is even before this season, he's always had to prove himself. The manager that has come in has always doubted his ability to keep up to scratch with whatever it is that the tactical approaches that the new manager wants to implement. And every single time he's fought his way into that team and ended up staying there. And I think as well, like off the field, his sort of leadership qualities in being really connected to the community project and to the community in a wider sense. Like, for example, at the time of recording this podcast, he's just done the 10K in Hillsborough Park for charity, and he's doing all that sort of thing. And he's got his Liam Palmer School of Excellence for young kids wanting to get into football and all that sort of stuff. And he's just showing that his leadership qualities on the field and off the field, because he's clearly a figurehead that so many of the squad look to kind of have as an example of what it is to be a Sheffield Wednesday player. And you saw that in the inside training video that was released just before the Sunderland game, how they were all kind of going over to him and how they had a bit of reverence looking up to him kind of thing. And just his mentality of, I'm never going to complain. I'm never going to spit my toys out the pram, spit my dummy out, all that stuff. There was even reports of allegedly he was training with the under 21s for a stint. And this was allegedly under Danny. And he never even really complained too much then, because he fought his way back into Danny's team at that point. And I just think this mindset that he's got of like, never giving up, it embodies the whole spirit of the club that won't die, the player that won't die. He fights every single adversity and gets his way back into that team, and like you've said as well, scoring the crucial moments that is make or break in each game. And look how many times he's scored that crucial goal, and it's totally turned the tide in the game. It's totally switched the players mentally to being so much more tuned into what's going on and how we've seen games out because of the fact that he scored the goal. It's a bit like Windass, I guess. Similar sort of effect as well when Windass has scored the big goal.
Windass would have been a shout if he'd have been fit the entire season.
Yeah. And Palmer stayed fit the entire season as well. So that's pretty decent.
It's his levels, it's his professionalism, his levels. Have you got anything to add on Liam Palmer? Obviously, Jakes, he wasn't your shout, but I'm sure he's up there for you.
Oh, no, he's up there. He's definitely up there. He just steps up when we need him, doesn't he? He's Mr. Reliable.
Absolutely. And I think, do you know what? It's really nice to say, because it might be the last time we ever give this award to him, but he's definitely deserved it. The Talking Wednesday player of the season is Liam Palmer. Well, lads, that is our Talking Wednesday Awards, our second in 4 years. Hopefully we won't wait, 4 years, 3 years, 4 seasons, 3 years. I can't remember.
Does League One not count, Dex? Wow. Only turning up when we're in the Championship, ain't? No, I'm kidding. That's a joke, guys. That's a joke.
If you think about it, actually,
we're
usually
not
the reason I realized, I was like, why haven't we done that? We haven't done them for the last couple of times, and I was like, why haven't we? It's because the playoffs are at this time.
Yep.
So we've not done the end of season awards because we've been in and around playoffs. The first season, because we lost the playoffs, we didn't feel like doing them. Last season, we were too busy with all that. Yeah. We finished the playoffs and then we sacked the manager, so we didn't really, the whole thing.
We didn't have chance.
We were doing Wembley trips and everything. Yeah. So, they didn't happen. But in a normal season, when you've not got that, you've very much got your player of the season. But I'll tell you what, if we get to the playoffs next year, there will definitely be some player of the season awards. We'll have a very long award show. But what could be quite fun is if you guys in the comments on the YouTube video, go to YouTube if you're listening on audio, if you're in the live chat now on the premiere, wait until this video finishes in a few seconds or use the comment section below. Use all the awards that we've used today and list who you would put in those slots. We'll have a conversation with you. It'd be interesting to know what the community would vote for in terms of the Talking Wednesday Awards. But thank you for joining us for this special episode of the podcast. We'll be back to normal programming from next week. But until that time, thank you so much for watching, guys. Take care, and we will see you in the next episode of Talking Wednesday.
See ya.
Cheers.